Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Safety at the Top, the final webinar in our 2021 Ladder Safety Webinar Series in partnership with Werner. My name is Pam O'Brien, and I'm from the American Ladder Institute. I'll be passing things over shortly to Joe Senecal, National Job Site Safety and Security Manager at Werner, who will lead today's presentation. As always, before we begin, a few quick introductions and announcements for those new to this webinar series. The American Ladder Institute, ALI, is a non-for-profit association dedicated to promoting the safe use of ladders. Its members are affiliated with the ladder and ladder component manufacturing industry, and ALI is the American National Standards Institute approved developer of ladder safety standards. Each month, the ALI and its partners sponsor National Ladder Safety Month, a campaign all about promoting the safe use of ladders, both at home and at work. This year is the 5th celebration of National Ladder Safety Month, and we are excited to bring you this series of webinars covering how to safely choose and use ladders. Partnering with ALI for this series is Werner. Werner actively advocates for ladder safety and accident prevention through their range of innovative product solutions, in-person training, and online educational programs. Today's presentation is meant to be interactive. Throughout the session, we will be taking questions from attendees using the Q&A feature found at the bottom of your screen. We will also provide time at the end to answer any remaining questions. This webinar is being recorded, and we will share the recording with all attendees later this week, along with the PDF of the presentation. This recording, along with the 3 previous webinars, will be hosted online at laddersafetymonth.com. Our presenter for today's webinar is Joe Senecal, National Job Site Safety and Security Manager. Joe graduated from Keene State with a degree in Safety and Occupational Health in 2013, and now has over 8 years of experience in the construction industry. He lives in Massachusetts with his wife, Katie, and enjoys watching the Bruins and spending time outside in his free time. Having a background from both the end user and manufacturing side of the business, Joe is excited to share his knowledge on how to work safely at the top. Also joining us is Kelly Markle, Product Manager for Climbing at Werner. Kelly will be helping us answer any technical product support questions that come up on today's call. With that, I'll pass it over to Joe.
Thanks, Pam. Well, appreciate you guys having me on today and discuss safety at the top. At Werner, we like to start all of our slides with our culture slide. And today I want to talk about we compete as a team. And I think it's really important that we partner with ALI on this presentation and over the past 4 presentations over the past few weeks. And we're really looking forward to continuing this partnership in the future. So thanks again for having us on. So as Pam said, we're going to be discussing safety at the top. We're going to go through some different styles of ladders and discuss, what the do's and do nots when we are talking about these ladders. So with that, we'll get started. Just to go over the previous discussions that were had over the past 3 weeks, the first one was How to Choose a Ladder by Mike Melton on the Werner's team. He went over some great information on which products to choose when it comes to what choice you're going to use: extension, step ladder, lean safes, or multi-use ladders. Next after that, we had Milty Aces present ladder inspection and setup. Also with this, went over how to properly choose a ladder for the job that you're doing and how to inspect that specific ladder, whether it's a step ladder or extension ladder or any other style ladder that was discussed. And lastly, just last week we had Chad Lingerfelt discuss safety while climbing. What you'll notice during this presentation is some information, if you attended last week's, will overlap a little bit as we do have some similar topics. But with that, we'll get going on safety at the top. So the first ladders we're going to discuss are step ladders. Different sizes of step ladders are going to be discussed, and all the rules that we're going to talk about of the do's and do nots are going to apply regardless of the size. As you can see on this slide, there are different colors, and what those are the colors are going to depict a certain weight ratings and whatnot on the slide. So when you heard Mike Melton talk a few weeks ago about how to properly choose your ladder, that weight topic would have came up. At the top, the do's. When you're using your step ladder, you always want to face the ladder when climbing. This is going to help you be stable while climbing the ladder, and also you want to maintain those 3 points of contact, whether it's as you're climbing, one leg will come off the ladder rungs itself, and you can use your 2 hands and your other foot to maintain that 3 point of contact. You always want to stay in the middle. Have your belt buckle stay in between the rails of the ladder, and that will allow you to be stabilized, where the ladder won't swing side to side, overreaching or anything like that. And you want to utilize your accessories. There's accessory buckets at the top where it clips in, as you can see in this picture on the bottom right corner. Place to put your drill, the accessory bucket, you can put your tools, your screws or nails or whatever it is that you're working with, and have it safely at the top there. That way you don't always have to have everything on your belt. If you're constantly using a tool belt and you might have to do some reaching, it might cause you to get off balance a little bit. So we always advise you to use those accessory buckets as an add-on for your tools and accessories to be a quick access right in front of you. The do nots. When you're still using a step ladder, you never want to use the top 2 steps, and this includes that top step, as you see in the top right, standing on top of that at all. You never want to walk the ladder. You also might hear the term jumping the ladder. And what this means is that if you need to move locations, you're not standing on the ladder and trying to move it and jump it at the same time. This can obviously cause you to get off balance, be on an uneven working surface, and fall off the ladder and cause the ladder to tip over. You never want to face the ladder backwards. So again, continue facing the ladder as you're climbing, ascending and descending the ladder down to ground level or to access the top of the ladder. So you always want to be facing the ladder itself. And you do not want to lean a step ladder. The only way that you will be able to lean it is it will be on our next topic when we talk about leaning ladders. So a step ladder is not made to lean. It is made to be an A-frame ladder. Open up, put the spreaders all the way out, and that way, you're going to have the stabilization of that step ladder. So you want to follow the manufacturer's recommendations on those ladders that you are using. As you can see on these pictures, these are clearly things that you do not want to do. As you can see with the gentleman that's doing some grinding or cutting, he has 1 foot on the ladder, so he has 1 point of contact, and he also has pressure on the wall that he's cutting, which could cause him to be off balance and cause that ladder to kick out. You never want to stand at the top. The higher you get, the more unbalanced that ladder gets. So again, you want to stay off the top 2. That way that ladder is not going to kick out in front of you. I'll take a quick pause. Are there any questions that we have?
No questions at this time, just a comment. Please tell me that grinder photo was staged. If not, wow.
I sure hope it was staged. There's definitely some other safety protocols that were not followed in that picture. Next up, we talk about leaning ladders. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click here and use my pointer. So now we have our leaning ladder. So you want to adopt the same rules for step ladders with a couple other things to keep in mind. What you'll notice is that the color coding on the back is different. So you can see the yellow here on the back rails. That's saying that is a lean safe ladder. Okay, so that's going to be able to give your safety directors or an inspector, an OSHA inspector, that notice that, okay, this is a lean safe ladder. This is able to be used in that application. You can tell on the picture on the right that this is in leaning mode. So on the picture on the left, it's in step ladder mode. On the picture on the right, it is in leaning mode. A really clear picture here is what is going to show you. So on these, when it's in leaning mode, you'll notice that there's a sticker here and a sticker here. And you notice that he's pretty far down on this side as well. So when you're in leaning mode, you can only access this step right here, and you cannot go higher. When it's in stepladder mode, you can come up to this step here. So a couple things that you just need to keep in mind when you're using the leaning ladder while you're adopting the typical stepladder rules as well. You are able, this has a cutout at the top here, so you can lean this on a corner or a stud, and that will be able to keep you safely centered on whatever it is that you're working on. A couple other things at the top here, a magnet, place for your nuts and bolts, to bring your tools up there and whatever fasteners you might be using, and allow you to utilize the top piece of this ladder to your advantage. Podium ladders. So again, you still want to adopt the similar rules from a step ladder. You're still able to maintain your 3 points of contact, and this can include your hip when you're using a podium ladder. Both feet are going to be on the podium here, and on the left side here, you can see that this person's working, has their hip as their 3rd point of contact. You want to utilize that accessory bucket that I stated earlier, and you can see that these cutouts will fit that accessory bucket as well. You know, and as well, you can see he has his drill stationed on this side as well. So you're able to use that same accessory bucket on the podium ladder and the step ladder. Those are the tops that can receive that accessory bucket. You'll notice that there's a toe board here, just in case you do drop anything that lands on the podium that you are standing on. These can get pretty tall, so if people are working underneath you or beside you, you know, you don't want to kick that off. This is actually, from a Werner standpoint, is going to be on 3 sides and not just a toe board. So it will go around 3 sides of that podium in some short time. You're allowed to keep your feet flat on the surface. And what that does is that helps you eliminate fatigue and allows you to work for a longer period of time and be comfortable directly overhead or directly in front of you. Really just going to be able to give you that good sense of security, and that fatigue is not going to set in as quickly.
We do have a question.
Great.
So AL, I received a question via email earlier this week. That could be, here we go. Can you use a podium ladder like a step ladder, or do you always have to stand on the podium?
No, you can use it as a normal step ladder as well. So you can step on the, you can use the actual steps along with the podium. So you don't have to be on the platform the whole time. You can use any of this other steps.
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay.
Next up, we talk extension ladders. Always face forward when accessing a roof. You always want to tie the ladder off. This is going to be used in the circumstance where that ladder is going to stay fixed in that one spot when you're accessing that roof, and that's going to allow you to, once you get to the top, as you can see on this picture on the far right, he's going to access the ladder by, you know, that 4th rung down and step right off. That's going to keep that ladder from kicking out side to side based on what side that worker is going to step off the ladder. So there's no way that that ladder will kick out and go on the side and cause somebody to fall, or the ladder to fall and then strand somebody at the top of the roof. You always want to extend that ladder 3 feet above the landing, and that's going to allow you to have that safe access and egress down from the roof. You can see that picture in the middle. It looks like a window washing that's going on here. Something that I want to point out is he does have stabilizers. It looks like he is on an uneven surface. He was able to add stabilizers on, and that is going to level out that ladder. So he's not going to have to, you know, put dunnage or anything else underneath that to make sure that, you know, he's working on a level surface. He was able to put stabilizers on and allow you to work on that hill type structure.
Okay, we had another question. Are you ready?
Yep.
So if you are working on a standard step ladder, opened up all the way, and you are not on the top 2 steps, can you use 2 hands to do work? What about the 3 points of contact?
You can use both hands. So your feet, your knees, and your waist would be against the top. So those would be your 3 points of contact. You would still want to make sure you do not overreach.
Okay, next question. In the very first slide, it showed a man on a folding step ladder working on a light fixture above. Is that safe, or should he use a platform or podium ladder?
I think that's a matter of preference, and sometimes it depends on the code of the building that you're working on or the contractor that's working on it, but either would be safe.
Okay, one more question. How do you tie off in the photo on the right?
Kelly, do you want me to answer that one?
Yeah, you go for it, extension
Yeah, so a lot of times, sometimes workers will put some sort of nail or a lag bolt into the side and tie off, right to that with a rope or something, type of tie wire. There could be options. These guys are pretty creative in the field, and they'd be able to do that.
That's all the questions for now.
Great. So as we keep discussing extension ladders, the do nots. So do not use the top 3 rungs. You never want to face or climb the ladder backwards. So very similar, again, to step ladders, podium ladders, and lean safe ladders. You always want to face the ladder and don't overreach. And this is a big one that I think that from a construction standpoint on the job site and homeowners, DIY, I think it just is the fact that you do not want to constantly get up and down the ladder, move it to be in that position, because it is something that has to be done pretty frequently. I could say that, cleaning your gutters, you have to continuously move that ladder one step at a time. And it can be very cumbersome. It's tiring. The ladder can be heavy based off if you're using fiberglass, and just workers in the field. A lot of times it's time consuming. Time is money. So they don't want to move it, but it can be very unsafe when that ladder is not tied off. It can kick out side to side and end in a pretty bad day. So you always want to advise your workers to not overreach, keep that belt buckle centered, and really, really keep that energy straight on that ladder. You don't want to carry excess tools, for the discussion of, again, accessing a roof or climbing up the ladder with tools. Good practice is access the ladder itself, access the roof, have a bucket down below that's filled with your tools with a rope, and you pull your tools up from there to keep your hands free and allow you to safely climb that ladder. Next up, just a topic that we'd like to talk about is multi-use ladders. So as you can see, there are 5 different ways to use the multi-use ladder. So as a double-sided ladder allows for 2 persons at once. The wall allows you to be close to the wall. Ladder is designed for that use. So as you can see, it's just the angle is a little bit different from the wall ladder to the double-sided ladder. The stairway ladder allows you to put one side on the step and allows you to have that proper angle to still work safely when working in those areas. Painting, for instance, in a stairwell. This allows you to put that one side on a step and still provides that safe angle. It won't allow kick out. Fourth, you want to adopt the extension ladder rules and follow them very similar. A lot of times the homeowners will use this because it has so many different types of uses. And this one, you again, don't overreach. Still, you can tie off if you're accessing the roof and just adopt those good habits. And lastly, this ladder can actually be broken into 2 pieces and then used as scaffold brackets. And then, what you want to do is obviously make sure that you use the proper staging as scaffolding and always follow the manufacturer's recommendations for these types of ladders. They are a great asset to have as a homeowner. And so you can definitely use these for whatever it is that you're doing. But please follow the manufacturer recommendations as much as possible while you're using this ladder. Any other questions?
Not at this time.
Great. So with summary, always choose the type of ladder based on your environment and your surroundings. Choose the ladder height based on where you need to reach. Remember the rules of how high you can safely climb based on the extension ladder, step ladder, lean safe ladder, or multi-use ladder. Remember where you can step at the top based on what ladder you're using. So again, for instance, when a lean safe ladder is being used as a step ladder and then into leaning mode, those things change. So just be conscious of that with the type of ladder that you're using. And know your limitations on the different styles of ladders. And then lastly, ask somebody for training. If you're a safety director or safety manager, provide that training. You have people like Werner that are able to come out to your job sites and give you that type of training. And we can always point you to our website where it has free online training as well. So there is the training out there, and utilize us as much as you possibly can. We're here to partner with you and be an advocate for you and help you out as much as we possibly can. So we're happy to do that, and we look forward to meeting you.
We did have a question.
Great.
Does Werner make emergency escape ladders?
Do you want me to answer that?
Sure.
We used to. I do believe we've discontinued it, but that doesn't mean that we don't have some still in inventory. So I would contact a rep and they might be able to get you one.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today and Joe for sharing his expertise. We hope you have enjoyed this year's ladder safety webinar series and found safety best practices to use on the job and at home. You can find the recordings of each webinar in the series at Ladder Safety Series online at laddersafetymonth.com, along with additional safety resources. Thank you again to Werner for sponsoring this series and to all of you for joining us and being so engaged throughout the month. Happy National Ladder Safety Month. Thanks for joining.